Right now, while you sleep, your body may be manufacturing belly fat. Not because you ate too much, not because you skipped the gym, but because a hormone your doctor has almost certainly never discussed with you is spiking hard between 2 and 4 in the morning. And when it does, it is pulling sugar out of your bloodstream, flooding your system with energy you cannot use, and then packing every last bit of that excess directly into the fat cells wrapped around your organs. If you woke up last night somewhere between 2 and 4 and could not get back to sleep, that process may have happened in your body last night. Tonight it may happen again. This is not a theory. Researchers at the Journal of Clinical Endocrinology and Metabolism published findings in 2023 confirming that chronically stressed adults, especially those over 50, experience a secondary cortisol spike precisely in that 2 to 4 a.m. window, during what should be the body's deepest rest phase. And a 2021 study from the University of California, San Francisco tracked adults between the ages of 50 and 70 for 5 years and found that this pattern of elevated nighttime cortisol was linked to a 23% increase in visceral fat. That is the dangerous belly fat packed around your internal organs, not just the kind you can grab with your hands. 23% in 5 years while they slept. While the part nobody tells you clearly enough is this: the belly fat you have been fighting with every diet, every morning walk, every calorie cut, may not be a food problem at all. It may be a chemistry problem happening in the dark, in the one part of your day you thought was safe. That is the whole point of this video. If you have not subscribed yet, please do that now. I release videos like this every week. The root causes your doctor never investigates, and the natural fixes the medical system does not want you to know. Hit the like button too. It tells the algorithm that real information still matters. Now, let us get into this. I need to demolish a myth that has been sitting in your mind for years, and doing real damage while it sat there. The myth is this: belly fat after 50 is inevitable. It is just what happens. Your metabolism slows down, your hormones shift, your body changes, and the fat around your middle is simply the price of getting older. You have heard this from your doctor. Your parents probably accepted it as a fact of life. Every magazine article and every fitness advertisement confirms it every single week. Buy this, eat less of that, exercise more, because that is just what your body does now. That belief is wrong. It has been wrong for decades, and while it has been sitting unchallenged in your mind, real biochemical damage has been building in your body, quietly, nightly, for years. Here is what is actually happening. The primary driver of post-50 belly fat accumulation is not slowed metabolism. It is not aging itself. According to research published in Obesity Reviews in 2022, chronic elevation of cortisol, your body's primary stress hormone, is directly linked to a 3 to 5 times increased risk of visceral fat accumulation in adults over 50. 3 to 5 times. Not a slight nudge. A multiplying force. Think of cortisol like a fire alarm in your house. The alarm's job is simple. It screams when there is danger so you can act. That is healthy. That is what it is built for. But imagine if the wiring in your alarm system corroded over time and the alarm started going off at 3 in the morning for no reason. No fire, no smoke. Just screaming. You bolt awake. Your heart pounds. Your body floods with adrenaline, and then nothing. You go back to bed. That is exactly what a cortisol spike at 3 a.m. looks like inside your body. The alarm is screaming. Your entire stress response fires, and the energy your body has just mobilized, the blood sugar, the glucose, the fuel, has nowhere to go. So your body does the only thing it knows how to do with unclaimed energy. It stores it. And it stores it in the one place it was always designed to store emergency fuel: the deep belly fat wrapped around your liver, your intestines, your heart. And while that belief, it is just aging, has been sitting unchallenged, that process has been running night after night, deposit after deposit, for years in your body. Here is what is actually happening inside your body. And I want you to understand this clearly because the moment it clicks, everything about your belly fat will make sense in a way it never has before. Your cortisol is produced by your adrenal glands, two small walnut-shaped glands that sit on top of each kidney. Their job is to produce cortisol in response to signals from the brain. The command chain works like this. Your brain senses a threat. It signals the hypothalamus. The hypothalamus signals the pituitary gland. The pituitary gland signals the adrenal glands, and the adrenal glands release cortisol into your bloodstream. This system is called the HPA axis. That means the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis, the body's master stress command chain. In a healthy body, cortisol follows a clean daily rhythm. It peaks sharply in the morning, around 6 to 8 a.m., to help you wake up and mobilize for the day. Then it gradually declines through the afternoon and reaches its lowest point between 11 p.m. and 1 a.m., right when your deepest sleep is supposed to begin. That is the design. That design breaks after 50. The NIH National Institute on Aging has documented that adults over 50 carry 10 to 15% higher baseline cortisol levels than younger adults. The rhythm flattens, the deep nighttime valley disappears, and in people dealing with chronic stress, poor sleep, or inflammation, which after 50 is most of us, a secondary spike emerges in that 2 to 4 a.m. window. Here's what that spike actually does. Cortisol's primary job is energy mobilization. When it spikes, it signals the liver to dump stored glucose into your bloodstream. Think of the liver like a pantry. Cortisol throws the pantry door open, grabs everything on the shelf, and throws it out into the hall. Blood sugar rises sharply. Your pancreas, doing its job perfectly, releases insulin to manage that blood sugar. Insulin is a storage hormone. That means its job is to take sugar out of the blood and park it somewhere. But at 3 in the morning, your muscles are relaxed, your brain is quiet, and there is nowhere useful to park that glucose. So insulin does the only thing left. It parks the fuel in fat cells. That is not a metaphor. That is precisely what happens. Now, this is the part that will genuinely shock you. Your belly fat is not a passive bystander in this process. According to research published in the journal Endocrinology, visceral fat cells, the fat cells packed around your organs, contain 4 times more cortisol receptors than the fat cells under your skin. 4 times more. That means your belly fat is specifically designed to respond to cortisol spikes. It is not random that the fat lands in your belly. Your belly fat has been wired at a biological level to receive that fat during a cortisol event. It gets worse. Visceral fat contains an enzyme called 11-beta HSD1. That means an enzyme that converts inactive cortisol precursors into active cortisol right inside the fat tissue itself. In plain language, once your belly fat grows, it begins producing its own local cortisol, which triggers more fat storage, which produces more local cortisol. It is a self-feeding loop. After 50, this process runs 2 to 3 times faster than it did at 30. The same cortisol damage that took 10 years to accumulate at 35 can accumulate in 4 years now. Not because you are doing something different. Because your HPA axis has less resilience, your cortisol clearance is slower, and your belly fat has had years to build up its own cortisol factory. How old are you? Write it in the comments. I want to shape every future video around exactly where you are. This is why your belly fat is not a diet problem. This is why the calorie cuts have not worked the way they should. And this is why your doctor has never connected these dots. Because when you sit down and describe your weight gain, your doctor is looking at your food choices, not at the cortisol spike that ran silently through your body at 3 a.m. 17,000 times over the last decade. This is not age. This is a correctable biological mechanism. I want to tell you about one of my patients. I will call her Carol. Carol was 63. The kind of woman who reads every label, does everything right, and still cannot understand why her body keeps failing her. She had eaten clean for years. She walked 40 minutes every morning without exception. She had cut out sugar, reduced her portions, and switched to what she believed was a healthy evening routine. A small glass of red wine to unwind, a melatonin tablet at 10 p.m., and lights out by 10:30. The belly fat had been growing slowly but without pause for 7 years. Not dramatically, not overnight, just quietly, steadily. Half an inch here, a tighter waistband there. She had accepted it. Her doctor had called it metabolic changes consistent with her age and suggested she consider reducing carbohydrates further. She went home and reduced them further. She came to me waking up between 2 and 3 every single night. Not to use the bathroom, like she was very clear about that. She just woke up wide-eyed, heart slightly elevated, unable to get back to sleep for 45 minutes to an hour. She lay there doing breathing exercises, counting backward, everything she had tried. Then she would finally drift off, wake up at 7 exhausted and do it all over again. Most people miss what I'm about to say. The wine was the trigger. Carol was doing what millions of people over 50 do every evening. She was using alcohol to lower anxiety and ease herself toward sleep. And it worked. She fell asleep faster. But alcohol suppresses melatonin and causes a cortisol rebound spike approximately 4 to 5 hours after consumption. That glass of wine at 9 p.m. was generating a cortisol explosion at 2 a.m., pulling her out of sleep and flooding her bloodstream with glucose she had no use for. The melatonin tablet she was taking did nothing to counter this, because the problem was not a melatonin deficiency. The alarm in the wiring was being triggered by the wine itself. She was pouring fuel on the fire every night, and then wondering why the fire kept burning at 3 in the morning. There was a second problem. Carol was taking omeprazole, a common acid reflux medication sold as Prilosec, every morning. A study published in the Journal of the American Medical Association in 2014 confirmed that proton pump inhibitors like omeprazole significantly deplete magnesium levels. Magnesium is one of the primary regulators of the HPA axis. Without sufficient magnesium, the cortisol braking system weakens, the alarm fires more easily, the spike runs longer. Carol's nightly cortisol surge was being amplified by a medication she took every morning without a second thought. We removed the wine. We added magnesium glycinate at 300 milligrams each evening. We added ashwagandha, KSM66 extract, at 300 milligrams twice daily. And we addressed the omeprazole with her prescribing physician. 10 days later, Carol sent me a message. She had slept through to 5:30 a.m. twice that week. The 3 a.m. waking had stopped. 14 weeks later, she came in for a follow-up. She stood on the scale and said nothing for a moment. Then she looked at me and said simply, 3.2 inches. Her waist measurement had dropped 3.2 inches in 14 weeks without changing a single thing she ate. What happened to Carol is not rare. I see this exact pattern every single week. Now, here is the practical part, what you can actually do. I want to give you a specific, actionable system. I call it the Night Rescue Protocol. 2 connected steps, one for the evening, one for the morning, designed to interrupt the cortisol loop at both ends. The first step is the evening wind down, and it starts with a self-test I want you to do right now, or tonight when you are ready. Stand relaxed. Place the pad of your index finger and middle finger on the skin directly above your belly button. Press inward firmly for 10 full seconds. If the tissue under your fingers feels solid and dense rather than soft, if it does not give easily with that pressure, that is visceral fat. Fat packed around the organs beneath the abdominal wall, not just surface fat. Now, using a fabric measuring tape, measure your waist at that exact point. Directly at the navel, not above it, not below it, at the navel. A measurement above 35 inches in women or 40 inches in men, according to the Mayo Clinic, indicates a level of visceral fat accumulation that puts you in a medically elevated risk category for cardiovascular disease and type 2 diabetes. Write that number down. You will use it in 14 weeks. Here's the part most people never reach because they stopped watching too early. The evening step has 3 components. The first is removal. You need to remove alcohol from your evenings completely, not reduce it. Remove it. Even 1 glass of wine or beer 4 to 5 hours before a 2 a.m. waking will generate a cortisol rebound. There is no safe evening amount for someone experiencing nighttime cortisol spikes. The research on this is not ambiguous. The second removal is caffeine after 2 p.m. Caffeine's half-life in the human body is 5 to 7 hours. That means a coffee at 3 p.m. still has half its active compound circulating in your blood at 9 p.m., interfering with the cortisol clearance that should be happening during your early sleep. The third removal is screen light. Blue spectrum light from phones and televisions after 9 p.m. signals the suprachiasmatic nucleus. That means the brain's internal clock to delay melatonin release, which pushes the cortisol valley back and compresses your deepest sleep window. The addition for the evening is magnesium glycinate, not magnesium oxide, which is used as a laxative and has poor absorption, and not magnesium citrate, which draws water into the bowel. Glycinate specifically, 300 milligrams taken 30 minutes before bed. Magnesium glycinate crosses into the nervous system and directly supports the HPA axis braking mechanism. It does not sedate you. It removes the friction that is keeping your stress system activated when it should be resting. A trial published in the Journal of Research in Medical Sciences confirmed that magnesium supplementation significantly reduced cortisol levels and improved sleep architecture in adults with chronic insomnia. The second addition is ashwagandha, specifically the KSM66 extract, the most clinically studied form. A study published in the Journal of Medicine and Life in 2020 found that 300 milligrams of KSM66 taken twice daily, morning and evening, reduced serum cortisol levels by 27.9% over 60 days. That is not a rounding error. That is almost a 30% reduction in the hormone that is packing fat onto your belly at 3 in the morning. Now, the morning step exists because how your cortisol rises in the first hour of waking determines the baseline level it will carry into the night. A cortisol awakening response. That means the natural spike that happens in the 30 minutes after waking. That is too high or too prolonged sets the entire day's cortisol rhythm at an elevated level. Two things reset this. The first is outdoor light exposure within the first 20 minutes of waking. Step outside, not through a window outside, for 10 minutes of natural morning light. This synchronizes the suprachiasmatic nucleus, sharpens the cortisol peak so it arrives and departs cleanly, and sets the valley correctly for that night. The second morning intervention is phosphatidylserine. That means a phospholipid compound found naturally in the brain. A study published in the journal Nutritional Neuroscience in 2010 found that 400 milligrams of phosphatidylserine taken with breakfast reduced the cortisol response to physiological stress by 30%. It is the same mechanism as the body's own feedback loop. It tells the hypothalamus the threat level is lower than the alarm is reporting, and the alarm volume turns down. Here is exactly what to do tonight. Step 1. No alcohol after 5 p.m. Step 2. No caffeine after 2 p.m. Step 3. At 30 minutes before bed, take 300 milligrams of magnesium glycinate. Step 4. In the morning, take 300 milligrams of ashwagandha KSM66 and 400 milligrams of phosphatidylserine with your first meal. Step 5. Go outside within 20 minutes of waking for 10 minutes. That is the night rescue protocol. It does not require a prescription. It does not require a gym membership. It requires understanding what is actually happening in your body while you sleep and choosing to interrupt it. One final thing for this section. If you are currently taking a proton pump inhibitor, omeprazole, lansoprazole, pantoprazole, or any acid reflux medication in that drug family, you need to have a direct conversation with your prescribing physician about your magnesium levels. The Journal of the American Medical Association study in 2014 was unambiguous. Long-term PPI use causes clinically significant magnesium depletion in a substantial portion of patients. Magnesium depletion weakens your cortisol regulation directly. Your reflux medication may be quietly amplifying the exact mechanism that is producing your belly fat. This is not theoretical. Ask for a serum magnesium test at your next appointment. Write that down somewhere. You will need it. Let me give you the 3 things to carry away from everything we covered today. First, belly fat after 50 is not inevitable aging. It is primarily a cortisol dysfunction problem, a hormone spiking at 3 in the morning and manufacturing fat while you sleep. driven by a broken HPA axis rhythm that is entirely addressable. Second, the things most likely to be maintaining your 3 a.m. cortisol spike are your evening glass of wine, your acid reflux medication depleting your magnesium, and the screen light holding your cortisol valley hostage. None of those require a new prescription to fix. Third, the night rescue protocol, magnesium glycinate in the evening, ashwagandha, KSM-66 morning and evening, phosphatidylserine at breakfast, outdoor morning light, and the evening removal of alcohol and late caffeine. Targets the cortisol loop at both ends, and the research supporting each component is named, sourced, and peer-reviewed. The drug company makes money every morning you open that medicine cabinet. I make nothing when you close it for good. If you recognized yourself in any part of what we covered today, the 3 a.m. waking, the belly that will not shift despite everything you are doing, the medication you have been taking for years without question, do not wait. Start with the magnesium glycinate tonight. Just that. One change tonight. And if you know someone, a friend, a sister, a partner, who has been waking up between 2 and 4 in the morning and blaming it on age or anxiety, send this video to them directly. The mechanism I described in this video may be the exact thing running in their body right now, and they deserve to know it. Subscribe if you have not yet. Every week I bring you the root cause your doctor never investigated. Like this video, it takes 1 second, and it tells the algorithm that this kind of content belongs in front of people who need it. I will see you in the next one.